The Empyrean is a historic building, more than 100 years old. But what makes it truly historic is the story behind what got us here today. I remember the Hotel Menlo, an SRO that was subjecting its low-income and vulnerable tenants to unconscionable living conditions.
To investigate what some call hotel hell.
Our team has been closely following the troubles with the Empyrean Towers for more than 2 years.
Holes in the walls, leaky ceilings, and serious code violations like this blocked fire escape, not to mention the water that made many low-income residents sick.
The conditions were just horrifying. Cockroaches, bed bugs, rats. They said the ceiling is caved in, there's black mold everywhere. And there were families living here, there were little kids living here, disabled people, there were terminally ill people in this building. The elevator was broken, so there were people stuck on the top floor who were homebound. We know firsthand that there is a tremendous affordable housing shortage. Wow, this could be 60 plus units of affordable housing. Discussing it with the original tenants, they wanted to see that too. We met with RCD and they were so open to the idea.
The property ended up in foreclosure with a foreclosure court deciding what was going to happen to the building. The judge decided that RCD's bid was the most competitive, and the City of Oakland's backing was a big reason that he made that decision. The City of Oakland had put a lien on the property that added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars due to delinquencies and code violations. And the city and Mayor Schaaf agreed that if the property became affordable housing, they would drop that lien.
In partnership with the community and the Oakland City Attorney's Office, we were able to bring that building out of the irresponsible ownership of its previous landlord and place it into the beautiful hands of RCD.
The building was built over 100 years ago to be a temporary place for visitors. There were no cooking facilities, there were shared baths down the hall. But for decades, people had been living there as permanent housing. So when RCD came in, our intention was to convert it to permanent housing that really looked and felt like a permanent housing should. So we went from 96 units to 66 apartments. Every one of those apartments now has an individual bath, an individual kitchenette in each unit. There are a mix of studios and one bedrooms in the buildings. We put in a brand new elevator, replacing the one that had been there for over 100 years, a whole new electrical system, taking out the old knob and tube wiring to bring it up to code, all new plumbing, all new heaters, a new roof. If you look down the hallways, they pretty much look like they did 100 years ago. There's even doors in the hallway that lead to nowhere. You'll see the same molding throughout the building and an entirely new structural system, which was probably the most complicated design piece of the whole thing, to bring this brick building up to current seismic code without interfering with the historic facade from the outside. When we started construction, we didn't know what we were going to find behind the walls everywhere. The front of the building on the upper levels had been covered in aluminum for the past many decades. So when we started to remove that, we found that the original glass was still there in many cases. So we were able to restore that glass, to add new glass in the areas that were missing, and that's now visible throughout the whole front of the building and brings in some really great extra natural light to the interior community room and retail spaces on the ground floor. Empyrean Towers was home to dozens of people. When construction started in 2019, we worked with those residents to temporarily move them to different housing options in the area, mostly to local hotels. And they lived there for about 11 months while Empyrean Towers was under construction. Now there are a total of 65 households who call Empyrean Towers home.
I've been here 30 years. It was horrible. It was like the bottom of the end of the line, you know, there was nothing worse practically. My roommate moves out, I couldn't afford anything more at the time, and it was really close to work, and the BART is right there. I've never had a place that was specifically mine, so that gives me a feeling of security. I have a wonderful view. I think that's my favorite part.
When we moved back in and it reverted to affordable housing, it made it easier on us. We was paying astronomical amounts in rent. And seeing now that we don't have to do that, it makes our life much easier. And feeling that we know that this is our home now, it makes it even more better for us. I love it.
The Empyrean Towers is a historic building because of the history that has been made by RCD.
It makes me so happy that what the original tenants envisioned has finally come to fruition. It's really great to see.
It's so heartwarming that residents who had lived in this building and in terrible conditions for years or even decades in some cases are able to come back and continue to call Empyrean Towers home, but have it be a safe, happy place to call home.
Everyone deserves to live with dignity, in a place where they're safe. It's nice to know that there are people looking out for you and doing things like putting this building together, having never known me, but doing it for the overall betterment of this city, and it's very important. I have just what I need and nothing extra. I'll be here for as long as I want, and that's a good feeling. It's just about perfect.